Hey guys, it's Kyle from Humble Roots. Welcome to the channel. And today in this video, we're going to be getting into how do you prune blueberry plants. It's the time of year, it's the summertime. This is when you prune them. And we're going to be explaining why and how coming up. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoy the content, and let's get into it. So what we have here is a pretty mature blueberry plant. It is roughly, I'll say 5 feet tall, maybe 4 feet tall, and it's surrounded by these kind of weeds, these thickets here. This is what happens at the end of the season. If you don't take care of it, if you don't get in here with a weed eater, it can become clogged up with weeds. But we're pruning this today mainly because there is a lot of growth in here and it's really dense. It's really clogged up. As you can see, there's multiple canes that are coming up from the middle, and there's not a lot of room for air. One of the biggest things that you want with a blueberry plant, any sort of perennial plant, even vegetables in the garden, is you want a lot of space for airflow. And so a plant like this, while it is a big producer, a heavy producer, it does need to be pruned. It is kind of a little bit old. It's probably 8 years old. To start, what we're gonna look for is, we're looking for, if you kind of look in the center here, you'll notice that there are these kind of trunks coming up from the bottom, and these are what we call canes. And the idea is that you want to thin out the number of canes on the inside, and you want to really look for new growth. See right here, you have some new growth. You want to look for new growth that's coming up. I can't really see it from the other side, but right here you have new growth that's coming up from the bottom. So we're going to try to get rid of some of these older ones that are specifically kind of in the middle of this plant. And we especially want to look for any canes that are overlapping, kind of crossing each other, if they're touching each other, or if they have any dead material on them. So the tools that I'm using are some hand pruners right here, and that's going to be really great for getting off this, random little dead stuff. But then the main tool that I'm using are these big, whatever these are called, bypass pruner shearer things. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna look for the ones mainly that are in the middle. So the ones that I've eyeballed on this particular plant is this one right here. I'd really think that this in the middle and this in the middle, those look like the older plants, and we're gonna get rid of those two right off the bat, maybe. Okay. Now this can be painful in your soul. Just to think like, man, what am I doing to this plant? But it's actually really necessary. It's kind of like a haircut. Your hair gets long, it's, you love it. You love your hair. It's happened to me when I was in college. I loved my hair, but it needed to go. It needed to go because it was a new me going forward into the future. So this is kind of like that. We were making room for the new blueberry plant. That was kind of an obscure example, but the point is, if you don't prune out these canes that come up, you're never going to allow the plant to really reach its full potential. You're going to want new growth moving forward in the next spring. So let's keep moving on. This one is kind of coming from here, crossing over into the outside. I like this plant, I like this cane right here. It's on the outside. So let's get rid of this guy on the middle. He's gone. One thing that can help before you get into this is getting rid of like all this growth, but alas, here we are. All right, I'm gonna look over here because these two are touching. I don't know if you can see this, but these two canes right here are rubbing up against each other. And so since this is the biggest and oldest looking one, I'm gonna cut that one. Get that out of there. All right, let's go around to the, and you know what? I'm gonna get this one while I'm here, just because mainly all this stuff's dead. We don't really need the dead growth anymore. So I'm gonna get rid of that. All right, let's go around to the other side. I'm doing this on this side. I'm just looking for old growth that is going to be unnecessary. This one looks like a good candidate to me because it's on the outside. It looks like it's older growth. There's not a whole lot going on with this one single cane. Okay. Pulling some of this grass. If you don't have this grass in your blueberry plants, that's wonderful. Keep it that way. But now that we've opened it up a little bit, we can kind of see what we're going for. So if you can see right here, this is a new cane coming up from the base. So we want to make as much room for this one as possible, and this one. The other things are you have these other smaller ones that have new canes growing off of it. As it's been pruned, the new sprouts have come up. So I like that. I'm going to, here's another one that's coming up. So I'm going to get rid of this guy, and I'm going to get rid of this guy. Okay, so it's already a lot more open. And let's see here. This is kind of mentally fatiguing because you're always having to make these small micro decisions, but it is well worth it. I'm gonna get rid of this one too. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a much more open canopy right here with a lot of room on the inside for it to grow. So now I'm just gonna go through and clean up any little branches that are really meaningless, and I'll probably, right here you can see there's some branches crossing over each other. Any branches that are crossing over each other, I tend to want to get rid of. All right, man, this plant looks a lot better. This branch right here has a lot of dead growth on it. Okay. So here. So what we've essentially done, okay, now I'm going to take this and some of these other dead little things off of here. Okay. So what we've essentially done is we have opened up the plant for more airflow. We have gotten rid of the old growth to let room for the new growth to come in. And we've done this in the summer because blueberries flower and fruit in the spring and early summer. You want to prune your plants at the end of the fruiting season. So after you've picked out all your fruit, you want to prune them at that point, because once you do this, the rest of the summer and the fall is going to be spent generating the new buds for the coming year. And you don't want to prune all the new buds that have been generated in the wintertime or in the springtime. You want to prune the old growth so that the new buds that are generated on the growth are going to stay there. So that's why we're doing it this time of year. And it is, if your plants don't look like this, if they look a lot smaller, a lot of times I just like my small blueberry plants just to grow. You know, you don't have to really mess with them a lot. If they get really bushy or really tall, you can trim some of the canes, the really tall canes. You can trim them off at about 2 feet height, 2 or 3 feet, and that will encourage more canes to grow from the bottom. So essentially you've got your one cane growing up, you trim it at the top, then you got the more that are growing up like this, you trim them, then you got the more that are growing out. So you kind of create from less bushy to more bushy at the top, and then eventually you'll come and prune out the rest of the inside like this. So anyway, that's how you do it. This one looks a lot better. As you can see behind me, we've got some that have been done, and then like this plant right here still needs a lot of work done. You got a lot of the old growth. So yeah, if you got really tall blueberry plants, you're gonna want to cut them at about waist height. You don't want to chop the whole thing off at once. You want to kind of do it year over year. You want to ease it off. So cut some, let some be real tall, cut some more the next year, and eventually you're going to make the plant shorter and shorter, so it's more manageable. Anyway, hope that helped. And if you got any questions, leave them in the comments section. Let me know how many blueberry plants you have, or if you've pruned them this year, or if there's any techniques that you've done that I didn't cover. Leave them in the comments section. Love to hear it. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.